Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Sausys. Yoga is popular throughout the United States, yet most of the offerings are concentrated in the East and the West Coast. San Francisco is a hub for yoga, and some studios in San Francisco stand out for their comprehensive approach that showcases not just the physical aspects of yoga, but also the mental and spiritual component of the discipline, as well as the powerful impact that yoga can have in building communities and in the life of those that are part of that community. That is the case of Purusha Yoga, a studio owned and directed by whom I have the pleasure of having here with us today, Joy Ravelli. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Joy is a lifelong yogi who is most inspired by the great outdoors, where deep and simple wisdom may be experienced with ease and profound enjoyment. She began teaching at 16 and is certified in yoga, Pilates, Thai bodywork, as well as a personal trainer. She is the primary teacher at the Purusha Yoga School and Studio, a place for community to gather, play, learn, and celebrate that invites people to come as their true self, which is actually the meaning of the word Purusha. Joy, it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'd like to ask you the one question that most of our viewers are really interested in hearing about, which is, how did your personal path in yoga, your personal yoga experience start?
I believe that I've been practicing yoga my whole life, really, and it is connected to being in nature. And I've always enjoyed being in nature and being in that meditative state with nature, whether it be with wild animals or in wild natural places. And when I started to read more about the philosophy and the practices of yoga, I realized that there was a lot there to hold on to these ideas of this practice of meditating and being in nature and really coming into the truth of who we are and the connection between our truth and that of all sentient beings, all of nature.
Is there a particular experience that you can recall where you felt that particular experience that we call yoga?
Well, in regard to the experience of being in nature and witnessing that, I would say it's most often with wild animals. So running down a trail and meeting a 12-point buck, face to face, and stopping and him stopping, and then just being there with him for a long time. The animal will always win the meditation contest with the human being. But I've had that same experience with a falling leaf or a small frog or just being near a river, really experiencing the connection between what's within us and what is within all of nature.
You named your studio Purusha. What is Purusha?
Purusha is the true self, and it's beyond the ego or the idea of who you are in regard to your ego or I am. I am a mother, I am a teacher, I am a business owner. Whatever it is that you identify yourself with in this material realm, it goes beyond that to the place within that is the truth. Some might say the soul or the spirit. And so bringing that, or bringing the practices that help you to experience that, is what Purusha is about. So it's very different for each person. And we offer the opportunity for people to explore and discover that for themselves.
This Purusha is something that is common? You just say that it's particular to each person, but is it also common to all sentient beings, as you were saying? Or?
I believe so, yes. I believe that there is a common ground, that there is an essence that is shared by all. And I don't think that yoga is a religion or a particular dogma. I think that is the root of what yoga is that these practices offer us the opportunity to connect with that truth.
And how could we differentiate Purusha Yoga from other forms or styles of yoga?
Well, Purusha Yoga, if you're in a typical group class, I mean, we do offer personalized programs and we do have the nonprofit organization. But let's say you come to the studio and you take a group class, you'll have a lot of different options given to you to experience the asanas, the poses, in a way that accommodates your particular needs. It's a very gentle and playful approach to yoga. We do practice the 8 limbs of Raja Yoga, and we do lean into the classic Hatha Yoga style of teaching.
For the butterfly pose, and now let's clap wings like that. Keep your spine straight. Very good. Clap your wings. Keep your spine straight like that. And now we'll be doing the butterfly pose.
However, there is the opportunity to accommodate for your slip disc or your neck and shoulder pain or anything in particular that might be coming up for you, whether it be emotionally or physical. Could be just today, could be something that's a common thread in your practice. And the teachers are there to help you experience each part of the class in a way that best suits your needs and desires.
And you just mentioned that there's the Purusha Seva project, which is, I understand, a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Tell us about this project, this idea.
Well, the idea is to offer a vehicle for teachers to share the practices and philosophy with underserved and at-risk populations. Many people experience huge benefits from these practices and from the philosophy, and to bring those practices and philosophy to people that are suffering in some way is profoundly rewarding, and I would say much more rewarding than maybe what you would encounter in a typical studio class. So we go to the county jail, we go to San Quentin, we go to shelters, we work with people suffering with HIV, we go to the Veterans Hospital, and it's the same curriculum that we offer at all these places. It's basically the same curriculum as the teacher training, and it's really life skills and an opportunity for people to share their stories and identify with their truth and beyond the suffering, and really find some sense of peace and contentment in their daily lives right now.
In what way more rewarding? You were saying that it's perhaps more rewarding than a general group. In what way?
Well, you know, when you show up at a place like the county jail, people are not in the best of moods. They're sleeping on, metal beds that are really uncomfortable for their spines. They're eating food that is not nourishing to their body. They're without their families' support. A lot of times they're alienated, they're isolated. And so they're showing up with a great deal of suffering, and to offer a simple practice to somebody that's experiencing those obstacles is extremely rewarding, compared to somebody that might be not showing up with those obstacles. I mean, everybody is moving through stuff, but there is something very rewarding to helping somebody, and they're lacking services. And so they're very appreciative. I mean, if you want to find, every teacher wants a good student.
Yes.
And honestly, there's no better student than somebody that's volunteered to show up on their own accord in a situation like a prison for yoga class.
Now, how did this interest start for you? Because we know that yoga is mostly for white people, Caucasian, with a certain level of economic status, and what you are, where you are bringing yoga is not precisely that population. How did it start for you?
I started teaching movement and life skills in yoga. I was studying health education in college, and I've always taught in untraditional places. I've always gone to corporations, colleges, businesses, jails, senior housing. I've always been interested in bringing these practices to people that may not otherwise receive it. So I'm not naturally called to having a studio where classes cost $20 and only a certain amount of people dressed in particular clothing can attend the class. So that's how I came to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been attracted to that, and I've always attracted teachers that are interested in doing that.
Now you've named a number of different groups, and you had expressed particularly the people that are in jail. And you also said before that in your program you want to adjust the practices of yoga or adapt them to what are the needs.
Mm-hmm.
So what are perhaps the particular needs of a group like people who are in jail that are different from another person that just wants to stretch and wants to look good? And what are their needs?
Actually, the needs are the same. In fact, one morning I taught a corporate class at a posh hotel downtown San Francisco for a large corporate group that came in, and they asked me to do some yoga as part of their seminar. And you know, I would say that the people that were at that group were showing up with a lot of the same symptoms as a heroin addict. Fussing with their phone and unable to settle their minds, and detached from their sense of being in the now. And then after that class, I went to the prison directly from there, and really people show up the same way in either group. There's no difference. It's an opportunity for you to calm down, to settle your mind, to draw your senses inward, to experience a sense of connection to your breathing. And in those little spaces between, there's some large opening that can occur for people. And there's a great sense of peace and well-being that can come from that.
And do you also address some of the mental aspects? Because what I mean is that people who are in jail are suffering, and a lot of people might be there not as as directly related to things they have done. There must be some injustice in it. But in other cases, you might be dealing with people who have killed someone or raped someone. So how about consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
Do you address consciousness with them as well?
Well, consciousness as being conscious of this moment, or consciousness as it applies to whether you're guilty or being forgiven for something?
Well, that would be more of a perhaps of a judgment, and
Yes.
I don't think you want to go there, or
Right.
anybody would want to go
Okay.
there with yoga. But for example, one of the principles of yoga is ahimsa, is no violence. Do you emphasize that with someone that has killed someone else? Because there's something there. There's something there that yoga can bring to the table that is not
Yes.
just a relaxation.
I believe that everybody has the potential to be forgiven and to forgive themselves and to forgive others. And the idea of forgiveness is to end punishment. It's a choice to end punishment. And you know, many of us are walking around punishing ourselves and wasting a great deal of our energy in punishing others. And I believe that all of that is futile. It's a waste of precious energy. And so, yes, giving people the opportunity to let go of that, to let go of guilt, to let go of their story. I mean, all we have is right now, and the potential for each human being to grow from this moment is profound.
Do you find these populations, you said it before, that they are receptive to yoga? Because many of them perhaps don't know about yoga or don't know what yoga is.
Yes, I find them extremely receptive. You show up for a class at the county jail or San Quentin as a volunteer. So many people have made these situations their ashram. They've made it their place of practice, and It's a conscious choice to be there.
Tell me about some other groups. Like you mentioned HIV
Yes.
positive, so this is more related to health.
Yeah, there are different ways of, working with specialized populations. So you can look at it through maybe a particular disease, or you could look at it through a particular obstacle. We go to the shelters and work with families that are in shelters. We work with veterans. We go to Glide Church, which is a beautiful community center in the city that has a wide, diverse population. But it has the commonality of people wanting to connect with great spiritual truths, not necessarily as a religion, but as a community. So.
And how do you find it easy or not in terms of bringing in the spiritual? Because when you name spirit, a lot of people revolve in their seats. They don't know, either they immediately relate it to religion, or others don't even want to talk about it. And even sometimes in some classes you speak about spirit and somebody yells from the back, "We came here for asana, we don't want," how...
People aren't attracted to Purusha Yoga that are interested in simple asana. I mean, we have classes that are more physical in nature, but every single one of our classes we chant, we practice Om, we do breathing exercises. So, you're not going to stick around if you want an asana-based class. You're not going to, you won't end up staying around, and that's fine. There's different styles for everybody, and there's students for every teacher, and there's a teacher for every student. And so if you're interested in the 8-limb path, and if you're interested in looking at your lifestyle, and you're interested in creating different choices for yourself, then, we have that to offer.
And now you also offer, as I said in the opening, opportunity to play and to celebrate. So what are some others of those activities?
Well, we do a lot of authentic movement in our yoga classes, where people are free to interpret the cue in their own way. If you're being inspired by a moon, or you're being inspired by your emotion that's coming up right now in this moment, you're going to look entirely different than the person next to you. So there's that sense of play. There's also classes that are more play-based, and we have kirtans, we have chanting, we have community celebrations, and we do celebrate the physical body too. I mean, we have a lot of our instructors are in the Willy Woggle circus, so we have the circus that performs at the studio. We do have classes where there's hula hooping, there's kids, movement classes. So I'm not anti-physical practice and play. I believe it's all part of it.
But how do you keep it yoga? Because we in this day and age, there's somebody does a little rope balance, and it calls it rope yoga. Or so how do you keep yoga in these activities?
I believe that you can be a yogi in any activity, whether you're an artist or a surfer or a runner. I mean, many people I speak to say they don't like yoga, and then when I talk to them in more depth, I realize they're an amazing yogi. They understand the rhythm of their breath as they're running. They're focused. Their mind is calm. Their body's at ease. These are elements of yoga. Yoga is being conscious and connecting the various parts of the human experience, so you're not just in your physical body, you're not just in your mind. You're able to experience these different realms of yourself and bring them together fluidly, and also to experience nature around you in a way that's at a different level than maybe we experience in our everyday activities.
Yes. Now that's perhaps the other component is teaching, right? You train yoga teachers and yoga therapists. I find it interesting when I first started teaching yoga almost 30 years ago. There were not a lot of yoga teachers, and now you can find a yoga teacher under every stone in this earth. And a lot of those yoga teachers go into a teacher training because they are actually wanting to deepen their practice, but not because they have a real interest in teaching. How do you differentiate those? Or
I invite all people to come to the teacher training, no matter what level of experience you have. There's no prerequisite. The only prerequisite we have is that you're willing to work on yourself and that you're in a place that you're emotionally grounded sufficiently to have that sense of courage and honesty to express what's happening for you. And so it is as much a self-exploration, a self-study, as it is a journey into teaching. And I certainly we do have people that show up just to teach, and we have people that show up just to enrich their own personal lives. I find most people that come for their own personal practice are the best teachers, because that really ultimately is all we can teach, is what we've experienced for ourselves. Authentically, people will receive that at a totally deeper level than somebody just delivering a cookie cutter program. So, you know, people that come for their own self-growth really end up sharing in an amazing way because they're interested in their own work, which is always the most interesting teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you also induce this this interest for serving the underserved or the at-risk population?
Yeah, many people come to the teacher training because they are attracted to the community and they're attracted to the opportunities to bring yoga to underserved and at-risk populations. And also the studio, you know, is an opportunity to teach in community. And, you know, we have all different kinds of people that come to the studio. It's not just one particular socioeconomic group that comes to the studio.
So what you do is somehow outreach or going into the community. Would you call your activity the off-the-mat yoga that they call out there?
Well, personally, you know, I really don't love the mats, so ideally it would all be off the mat. I think, you know.
Why not? Why don't you like them?
I just don't like the texture. I mean, ideally for me, it would be, I would love to just, I like practicing in the park and being barefoot and having my feet in the grass. We spent the whole day today at the windmill in the Golden Gate Park, and the smell of the flowers and the ocean air and, you know, being with the trees upside down, it's just fantastic, you know. So you don't need a mat. And I think it's kind of silly, actually, people walking around with their yoga mats.
Well, and also an interesting thing is that a lot of the work in yoga is towards discharge. Yeah. And because the sticky mats are made out of rubber, they prevent you from discharge.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that a lot of people, but there's an association with yoga. If you're a yogi, you have a sticky mat rolled under your armpit, in a way, for the general public.
Yeah. Well, we don't ask people to bring their own mats, and we don't charge a rental fee for the mats that are available there, so you can bring a mat, or, you know, you won't be charged
just
to use ours. Yes.
With this interest that you have in the community and in the world and in improving the lives of those who are in the world, I want to ask you something in particular, because ever since yoga spread in the West, it became something for women in a way, or that is the popular belief on one side, and then on the other side, the truth is that when you go to a yoga class, it's mostly women, and there's not that many men in the class. What does yoga have for men?
Well, I have noticed there are more men coming to classes. There's a lot of young men, which is really interesting and I think exciting. And I think men, you know, I've done health education my whole life. I've worked as a health educator, and I've taught high school. And you know, there is an idea that men don't take care of themselves, and it's the woman in their lives that, you know, prompts the medical examination or, you know, any habit of self-care. And I think there is a trend for men now to be taking care of themselves and be okay with that, with exploring their deeper sense of self. And it's a beautiful time for men to be exploring that. And I think there's a lot of energy in that direction. And of course, there's all kinds of beautiful practices for men. I mean, it's was created by men.
Mhm.
It was only men that
Mhm.
practiced yoga
Mhm.
for thousands of
For
years.
thousands of
So
years.
all of the all of the asanas are based on a man's pelvis.
Body. Yes.
A lot of the arm balances and such, of course, are performed a lot easier for men. And so, men can do very well in yoga. If you start with the physical practices, it can be very confident building. I think the breathing exercises are amazing. Men are under a great deal of stress. There's a lot of pressure on men, being a provider and all the stereotypes that we come with from our families and culture. I think men have an extreme,
Yes.
load to carry, and this is a chance for you to let that go and relax and calm your mind
And perhaps to connect with other men, because
Yeah.
in the American society, a man does it by himself.
Yes.
And in other societies, men come together to do what they need to do. So perhaps this aspect of connection as well is something that yoga has for men.
Yes. That's a beautiful sentiment.
Mhm.
Yeah, women do that much more
Easier.
easily.
Yes. Yes. You guys
Mhm.
immediately call each other. Yes, it's true. What would you say is what yoga has for the world in this moment?
I think we're living in a time where people are polarized. Our government is polarized. People's way of life is becoming more polarized. We're becoming more polarized in our social and economic situations. And I really do believe that yoga is a way of connecting us and helping us all to realize that we are all one, and that you may have a different idea than mine. You may come from a different walk of life, but it's a place to come to common ground. And I think that's the greatest gift it has. We've demonized people, we've created a lot of fear and a lot of isolation, and this is a practice and a philosophy that brings us together. And I think that's the greatest promise that yoga has.
How would a person wanting to connect with your studio or with yourself would get in touch with you?
Well, you can, I want to break into the, Blondie Call Me song, but I won't. You can go, call me, call me, call me anytime. There it is. Okay, you can go to the website, purushayoga.org. You can come visit the studio. Don't go to jail to take Purusha Yoga. Yeah, there's various ways to connect.
Joy, thank you so much for your
you.
joyful presence and for your insights today, and for sharing your path and your passion, I can see, with us.
Thank you.
And we hope to have you back in the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank
Thanks.
you. This was Joy Ravelli. Joy is a lifelong yogi who is most inspired by the great outdoors, where deep and simple wisdom can be experienced with ease and with profound enjoyment. She began teaching at 16 and is now certified in yoga, Pilates, Thai bodywork, and as a personal trainer. She is the primary teacher and founder and director of the Purusha Yoga School and Studio, a place where community come together to gather, to play, to learn, and to celebrate. And a place where she invites everyone to come as their true self, which is in fact the actual literal translation of the word Purusha, a Sanskrit word. I hope you like our show today. If you'd like to get in touch with me or let me know what you think, please shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com, and I hope to see you the next time.